Hey, Jimmy Beach here from Alien Skin Software. I'm going to give you a tour today through the factory presets for Exposure 3. And there are over 500 of them, so it's useful to get an overview before jumping in. Let's go up to Filter and down to Exposure 3. Now Exposure consists of two filters, one for color film and one for black and white. So let's start with the black and white. Now here on the left we have the Settings tab. This is where you choose a look for your photo, and this is where you'll spend most of your time. The other tabs let you modify a setting, which you can then save in the user settings list. But we have other videos that show you how to do that, so let's focus on the factory settings. Our settings are organized into categories. All of these categories that begin with black and white films are for specific film stocks or early photographic processes. Let's take a look at the first one, black and white films. Most of these are modern or recently discontinued films, and there's a wide variety of grain and contrast here. To see what a film looks like, just click on it, or you can also use the less than or greater than keys to move through the list. The next three categories are just variations of this first one with grain off or with lower contrast. Now for portraits, I suggest you try the low contrast versions. After the modern films, we start to get into the fun stuff. Let's take a look at the Polapan category. Polapan was an instant monochrome slide film made by Polaroid. In some of the archive photos made with Polapan, we saw some odd coloration. Here's your first introduction to settings that use our color toning feature. Now let's look at the black and white vintage category. Calotype and daguerreotype were processes from the early days of photography. Now if you want a photo to really look like it's old, give these settings a try. Here we use color toning, grain, and the new dust and scratches, and we use some vignette effects. The color sensitivity category helps you understand how exposure converts a color photo to black and white. So let's take a quick look. So we'll close vintage and we'll open up color sensitivity. Using equal weights of red, green, and blue gives a pretty dull result. For many scenes, especially ones containing people, I'd recommend using more of the red channel. So let's select mostly red with brighter. Next we have a color toning category, but I'll skip it because you've already seen some color toning, and you're about to see some more. Here's the effects category, which contains some of the most dramatic settings. These use a variety of effects all at once, including color toning, warp vignettes, and sometimes even lens blur. Now onto the focus category, which contains some glamour shots type of diffuse blur, and some sharpening. The grain only category obviously contains settings that only add grain, so I'm going to skip both of these because it's pretty obvious at what they do. Let's open up infrared. Now infrared is an interesting topic. These settings mostly use the features on our infrared tab over here. There are two ways to make a color photo look like it was shot with infrared black and white film. The first is the bloom around the bright areas. You see on HIE. This happens in film like Kodak HIE because it does not have an anti-halation backing. Now the second way to simulate an infrared film is to darken the blue areas, usually the sky, and brighten the green areas, or usually plants. Note that these effects only work well on high quality photos. If your photo has color fringes or JPEG compression, that stuff is going to stand out like a sore thumb. The lo-fi category is for popular toy camera photography. So let's close infrared and we'll open up lo-fi. Here you'll see lots of odd vignettes and sometimes blurring. Let's close that. Tonality uses a variety of tone curves for brightness and contrast manipulation, just like you would use in Photoshop's curve editor. And finally, the vignette only category shows off our new vignette feature. Explore it to see the wide range of looks that this feature can achieve. That's it for the black and white film filter. Hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. I hope that it gives you some information about what goes on under the hood in Exposure 3 and helps you in choosing a preset. I'd recommend that whether you're a seasoned veteran or this is brand new to you, go to www.alienskin.com and there you'll find plenty of other videos and lots of example images to help keep you going. This tutorial is part of a series for Exposure 3. I'd recommend the next in the series, Color Film. I look forward to the next time you tune in. Until then, this is Jimmy Beach with Alien Skin Software.